There is debate about that. I can tell you where I land on this topic. The Bible timeline, and if you look at that timeline we have back there on the wall, the date, it goes back and it shows 4004 BC as the year that Adam and Eve. And they get that by, there are actual events in history that we know when they happened. And then as you read through the Bible, it gives you specific information about ages of people and how long things happened, where you can actually take it and build that chain all the way back from Jesus to Adam and Eve, and you get 4004 BC. Now, there's some scholars who will say there's some wiggle room, like maybe the genealogies, maybe skip a generation or compress or that sort of thing. Okay, fine, but it doesn't get you much further than 4004 BC. Now, what happened before that? I know people who will say, yes, Adam and Eve, 6,000 years ago, but there were billions of years before that. There's reasons they believe that. There are reasons I don't believe, that I don't accept. I look at the scripture and I think that that's what it says was 6,000 years. As far as men and dinosaurs, and we touched on this a little bit last time. Regardless of how long had gone before, I think the evidence is pretty clear that mankind had firsthand experiential knowledge of dinosaurs. From cave paintings to stories, and not just like fairy tale kind of stories, but like actual historical account stories, carvings that we find that date back centuries, but are within the realm of historical documents that show, hey, these people knew what these creatures were. And so I think there's enough to at least show, hey, maybe they didn't all die off. So even if there are billions of years, and the scientific theory now is that the dinosaurs died off 65 million years ago, even if they didn't all die off, that we have evidence that there were dinosaurs. And mankind seems to have had this firsthand experience, knowledge of these creatures. And so, did that... Well, now... that would have been after. Adam and Eve were the first humans. Right. And so cavemen were just men who lived in caves. We have cavemen nowadays. There's people who live in caves. The popular image of the caveman is the big, hairy, dumb brute. That is a basically made up image based on the idea of evolution and that mankind developed from lower animals. Now, if you don't accept evolution, there's no reason to think that ancient man was this dumb, brutish thing that we call cavemen. That wasn't the, could have been. There's two views on the age. There's either that the world was, millions, billions of years old, or that it's only 6,000 years old. Either way, there is evidence of dinosaurs, that mankind knew what these creatures were.
I can't remember the scripture, but in Job,
Yeah, the multiple places, Job, it talks about in a list of other animals. It's not listing off fictional creatures. In a list of, he mentions the horse, and I think the lion, and just listing these creatures of, look what I made, and he's talking about how wonderful these creatures are. And he mentions something called Behemoth, and it gives a description. And he mentions something called Leviathan, and it gives a description. And so the descriptions that it gives actually kind of fit dinosaurs. And the word dinosaur didn't actually come about until, I think, 1700, 1800, somewhere in there. Prior to that, these things that people saw and knew of that fit the description that we would call dinosaurs, they usually called them dragons. That doesn't mean they were these mythical flying creatures that breathe fire. They just mean dragon. It's this big creature. And so typically what we'd call dinosaur, a few hundred years ago, they probably called dragon.